this is Steven from Just Got Played, and today I'm going to review HerStory, a game about iconic women of history. So this is from Underdog Games, and they sent me this copy to review, so thanks to the publisher for sending that along. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you how the game basically is played, and then I'm going to come back and give you my thoughts on it. In HerStory, you are racing to complete a book where each chapter is about an iconic woman from history. So there is a central idea board, and then each player also has a desk. We'll take a look at that in a second. On your turn, you can do one of three things. You can take a research token. So you can see there are research tokens here. So I can take this token and add it to my desk, and then I just reach in the bag and replace another token. Or if I don't like the tokens that are on offer, I have a library card. I can flip it to clear that row, refresh the row, and have new choices. And then I can flip it one more time and then discard this if I want to have yet another option. So you can see that these research tokens have symbols on them, and you collect those and then eventually use these symbols to complete a chapter. So that's one of the other things you can do. If you have the appropriate resources, so for instance, if I had this on my desk, I can complete a chapter directly from the idea board, and you get the number of points that are signified here. If the card has any ongoing special powers or scoring at the end, you also get that as well. If you do exactly what is required, meaning I didn't have any additional symbols here, then I will get a bonus 3 points. So I would take this and then I would put it on my desk where I'm constructing it, and then I would replace this. Another thing that I can do is there's actually 2 spaces on the desk for you to draft a card. So what you can do on your turn is you can just take a card and put it on your desk without completing it, but now you're the only person who can complete that. And then, of course, you would replace that card again. All right, now let me show you what the desk is. So here's my desk. You can see I've occupied my 2 spots where I've drafted a card. And you can see I've got the limited space for my research tokens. I mentioned that you could complete a card directly from the idea board, but you can also complete one from your desk. So for instance, you can see this requires these symbols. So I could potentially use this, and that has all the symbols required. I wouldn't get the extra bonus points because I do have these extra interview symbols on there. So I would discard those, and then I would put this in as chapter 3 in my book. You can see eventually you would get up to 8 chapters. When somebody does get to 8 chapters, that means that's the last round of the game. But you can see in addition to scoring the 3 points here, then when completing a chapter, I draw a research token from the bag. So in the future, for instance, if I were to complete, say, Hedy Lamarr, I would draw a research token from the bag and just add it to my desk. When the game is over, you obviously tally up the points and see who won, but you can take your player aid and flip it over, and you flip your chapters over, and now you've made a book. So that's the cover of the book, and then you can see the different chapters that are in there, and it suggests everybody pick one chapter and read the story of the person, which my kids and I found very interesting. But that is basically how you play. Now to give you my thoughts on HerStory, I'll go ahead and start with what I like about the game. So what I like about the game is that it's very simple. So I played this game exclusively with my 9-year-old twin boys. I played with 2 other adults as well, but every time I played, both of my boys were involved in the game. And this is very simple to teach, right? The iconography is well done, on the cards and the symbols on the research tokens. So it's easy to explain what are your actions. There's 3 choices of what you can do on your turn. And so the game was easy to teach, easy to set up, and it flowed very well. And the other thing that I like about it is these on the back of the cards, the chapter cards, is the actual chapter, the text of the chapter of the book that you're making. And there's a lot of interesting information here, which is, what I think is interesting about the game. It's fun to play with kids and have them learn some information. And that leads into my dislikes. And one of my dislikes is the game is a little too simple for my tastes.
I wouldn't play this game with adults. I think this is a fantastic game to play with kids, and there's a lot of information in there for them to learn. I mean, there's a lot of information in there for adults to learn as well, but I just don't feel like there's enough sort of strategic choices for my tastes and the gaming group that I play with. So it's a very light game, and for that reason, I will put this game on the kids' shelf, and I will play this with my kids. And my other dislike about the game, again, that was a very minor thing, and this is also a very minor thing, but I found it interesting, some of the choices they made. So, for instance, when you look here, we've got Mae Jemison, astronaut. Sally Ride, astronaut. Ellen Ochoa, astronaut. And I see these cards and I'm like, ooh, I wonder if I'm going to get Valentina Tereshkova. And then Valentina Tereshkova is not in the game. So, that's sort of interesting to me, right? Because Valentina Tereshkova was the first woman in space. And by first, I mean by a large margin. I mean, she went 20 years before Sally Ride into space. So to me, that's sort of a big deal. I mean, if you look, I saw Ruth Bader Ginsburg in there. So Ruth Bader Ginsburg absolutely belongs in this game, but why is Sandra Day O'Connor not in there? So maybe I put more historic relevance on people who are first. I mean, I feel like that's a big accomplishment to be the person who puts the crack in the wall of, prejudice against these women. So, maybe I just, from a historical perspective, feel like the women who are first deserve more respect and belong in this game. But I do understand, there's thousands of women that could be in this game and you can't put them all in the game because, it would weigh 100 pounds and cost $1,000 or whatever. So I would not begrudge any of the choices, any of the women they put in this game. I just found it interesting that, and it's not like I went through with a fine-tooth comb saying, oh, well, what about this person? What about that person? What about this? These are just people that I noticed while I was playing the game. I was looking forward to pulling out the Valentina Tereshkova card. She's in that Who's She game that I also have a review for on the channel, and is one of my favorite, cards or placards or whatever, to play in that game. So it just sort of stood out to me. But anyway, overall, I would say this is a really good game, again, to play with kids, specifically my 9-year-old boys, and I enjoy playing with them. And so if you want to learn some history and play a lighter game like this, I say check it out. And so thanks for joining me on the review today. If you have any questions or you want to talk about anything that I talked about, look in the description of the video below. We do have a Discord channel. You can join us there. I'll be happy to talk about anything. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Consider subscribing to our channel. All of those things do help us out. If you share the video, that helps us out as well, and we do appreciate that. But until the next time, thanks for joining me.